Hello YouTube, my name's Nana, welcome to my channel, and yes, I am talking about Trayvon Martin. There are a few different parts of this case that I want to talk about. First and foremost, the trial itself. I really think that this trial was it was wrong throughout. It had the wrong focus. The focus was on Trayvon Martin. It was on Rachel Jeantel. It was on the voice, or who people thought the voice was that was screaming. The trial never had the right focus. And to me, the right focus should have been on George Zimmerman. It was a trial of George Zimmerman, not of Trayvon Martin, not of Rachel Jeantel. And this was about George Zimmerman. This is about the fact that he disobeyed police orders, left his car, followed this child, and started an altercation with him, somehow. George Zimmerman is the culpable one. He is the initial aggressor. If anything, Trayvon Martin was standing his ground. And like Rachel Jeantel has said in interviews afterwards, no parent would tell their child, when you see a stranger stalking you, calmly explain yourself to them. Stop and have a nice conversation with them. No. No parent would tell their child that. So I don't understand why there's an expectation that Trayvon Martin was supposed to calmly identify himself, calmly divulge all this information about himself to George Zimmerman, who was stalking him. If anything, Trayvon Martin stood his ground against the aggressor, George Zimmerman. When George Zimmerman was losing that fight, he decided, according to Zimmerman's version of events, when George Zimmerman was losing that fight, however, it happened, he then chose to shoot Trayvon Martin. This talk about, oh, he's weak, he wouldn't have been able to do it. Yet still, though he's claiming Trayvon Martin was, brutally attacking him, slamming his head into the concrete, which makes no sense. If you look at the wounds, if you look at what happened, it makes no sense, this idea that this boy slammed his head into the concrete. It doesn't make sense. But then the idea that after all that, he is then able to pull out the gun from behind him and shoot him straight in the chest? This is nonsense. It's utter nonsense. George Zimmerman was the aggressor. That's the point that should have been highlighted. That's the point that should have been emphasized. And the prosecution did not do a good job of that. Instead, they let the defense run the trial and racially profile Trayvon Martin and Rachel Jeantel, just like George Zimmerman did that night. They tried to make Rachel Jeantel seem uneducated, they tried to make her seem aggressive, and they tried to make her seem as a surrogate for Trayvon Martin. They tried to make Trayvon Martin look like a young thug. All of this is horribly inappropriate. The defense does need to provide a rigorous defense for George Zimmerman. That's their job. But a rigorous defense must be reasonable. And racism, in any form, is never reasonable. It's never logical. It should never be the basis of an argument. The prosecution, in a lot of ways, failed Trayvon Martin. And I think like a lot of other people, felt that the only real passion from the prosecution came out in their rebuttal, in their last rebuttal. At that moment, we could feel an investment in the case. But I think throughout the rest of the case, they really failed their duty in a lot of ways. And I'll definitely be coming back to talk about Juror B37. And I think that's another case where the prosecution may or may not have failed. Thank you for watching. You can continue on to part 2, where I discuss what justice now and where can we go from here. And I'll see you guys there.